musical production tonight that is absolutely fabulous, and we are so excited to share that with you. It's part of our Lafayette200 Bicentennial, and starting our program this evening is our commissioner, Ray D'Agostino. Commissioner.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's performance. Today's the second day of General Lafayette's visit, and I'm assuming he's here somewhere. We'll be here, but you know, I've had the privilege of being with him most of the day. I hope he didn't miss me today. I had 21st century duties to do, so, but looking forward to tonight's performance. So tonight's really all about the General Lafayette, and really about the man, but also the ideals for which he stood for. General Lafayette was a man who ardently and voraciously believed in the ideals of freedom, of liberty, and equality, to the point where he was willing to put his life on the line. Yes. For a cause, quite frankly, for a cause that was not his own other than those ideals. In other words, he came to America really to fight for those ideals that he believed in, and he saw the cause, the American cause, as one which he felt needed to be won in order to have those ideals spread throughout the world, including his own native land of France, which he went back to try to make sure that happened. And the fact of the matter is that those his coming here and the idea that you can build a country built on those ideals was something new, quite frankly, and so he wanted to be a part of that. So 200 years ago exactly, July 27th to 29th, General Lafayette was invited to come back to America as sort of a farewell tour. He was invited by President Monroe. And Lancaster was all a gaga over this guy, and for good reason, obviously. And as much as possible, they really tried to recreate the events, you know, his travel and his events. And I had the privilege of being with him yesterday, and I told the general that, look, 200 years later, when you come through Lancaster County again, you're going to see a lot of that same landscape. You're going to see the small towns. You're going to see the farmland. You're going to see the forests. Because we cherish those here in Lancaster County to the point of preserving them. Yes. And that's all because of all of us. And I said, beyond that, because of you and what you've done, and those that worked with you, more than the landscape and all those other things, what you've been able to help us to maintain is those very ideals which still permeate through Lancaster County today. So we definitely thank you for that. So this is an opportunity to learn more about him and do so in an artistic way. And yesterday was more of, again, the events that he would have partaken 200 years ago, and we recreate. But today is something completely different and new. And if you haven't had a chance yet, please look at the program for today, because we are in for a real treat. There are a lot of people who have been working a lot of time, over years, okay, to put this on tonight. And so all people from all walks of life have come here to put this on in honor of this man. And beyond that, it's taken a lot of work for people behind the scenes to put this together. And I just want to give a shout out to some folks. First of all, this whole event, the 3 days we have today, and quite frankly, his visit throughout the United States as he knew it then, which would have been 24 states, has been the work of so many people. And we're honored to have tonight Chuck Schwam. He's the executive director of the Lafayette200 organization. But tonight's event, and I truly want you to take a look at all the people And the script and how this is going to go tonight, that was put together by, worked on by a lot of people, but one person in particular who's been heading up the events here in Lancaster County and then put this together is Kathleen Hood. She deserves a amazing, truly amazing. So we need to sit back, enjoy, but also reflect on this incredible man. Now it's my privilege to introduce you Dr. Robin Davis, who is an associate professor and department chair at Millersville University, which is the host tonight here at the Ware Center. Yes, give a round of applause. But I have to say, I was a history major, and I was telling the doctor before we came out here that I'm so enthralled that she's here tonight. Her specialty is in the founding of our nation and the Republic. And she and I agree that they're not the same thing, but they're two sides of the same coin. So with that, Dr. Davis.
Good evening, and as you've heard, I'm Robin Lily Davis. I'm chair of the Millersville University's Department of History and Philosophy. And on behalf of the university and the department, I really am honored to welcome you to a summer evening with Lafayette. We are thrilled to stage this historic production at our beautiful Ware Center for the Lafayette 200 Bicentennial celebration. Tonight's musical extravaganza will highlight both the life and the legacy of Marie-Joseph, Paul-Yves, Roche, Gilbert, Montpied, the Marquis de Lafayette. Please enjoy the performance. And because they gave me the stage, I invite you to join me in thanking once again the tireless, energetic, organized, and irrepressible Kathleen Hood. Bicentennial coordinator who truly brought all things Lancaster Lafayette to life. Thank you.
It has been 200 years since I last came here to Lancaster. And it is good to be back. But everything is different. For starters, the horseless contraption that brought me here. I asked its driver to deliver me to the old courthouse, which we looked for in vain. And so instead, he brought me here to this beautiful theater, where the people in the very strange clothes at the front door told me that I was expected to share my life and legacy with you, whatever that is, my legacy. And furthermore, he told me that there would be a number of surprise guests to meet me this evening. Mais quant à moi, j'ai rien à craindre. I have nothing to be afraid of. My life has been full of surprises. But I am already forgetting my manners. I am Major General de Marquis de Lafayette. Et j'ai maintenant le plaisir de faire vos connaissances. Comment ça se dit en anglais? Hein? It is my honor to make your acquaintances, yes? You must forgive me for my lack of facility with your language. I was born on the 6th of September, 1757, at the Château de Chavagnac, my family's home, in Auvergne, in the center of southern France. I was baptized Marie-Joseph Paul Ivroc Gilbert du Moutier de Lafayette, and believe me, it was not my idea. I was baptized like a Spaniard, with the name of every conceivable name of a saint that could protect me on the battlefield. I was merely the latest in a long line of a noble family with many feats of daring and courage and chivalry. I would need those names to protect me in battle. In 1759, before I was even 2 years old, my father, who was in the armies of King Louis XV, was killed at the Battle of Minden in the 7 Years' War against England. I became the Marquis, and Lord of Chavagnac, where I was raised by my grandmother. When I was 11 years old, my mother summoned me to Paris to begin my learning at the Collège du Plessis. She died within a few years as well, as did her father. And when I inherited their wealthy land holdings in Brittany, I became, very suddenly, one of the wealthiest, most eligible orphan bachelors in all of France. And as was the aristocratic custom at the time, my family began to speak with other noble families about arranging my marriage. A traditional article de mariage contract was drawn up between me and my future wife, Ajene de Dupuy. And meeting her for the first time remains a poignant memory for me. I remember hearing her say my name for the first time, Gilbert. And it sounded like the voice of an angel descending from heaven.
Gilbert. Gilbert. Gilbert.
Excuse me, je me trompe. I hear her this evening. Ma chère Adrienne. But this is wonderful, my dear. I was just telling these guests about our first meeting. Would you join us in telling our story?
Mais oui, bien sûr. Bonsoir. I was younger than Gilbert, born in 1759. My full given name is Marie-Adrienne Françoise de Noailles. I was the second of the 5 daughters born to the Duc and Duchesse d'Ajene. My childhood was spent in my family's Parisian residence of Hôtel de Noailles. My Noailles family, as Gilbert mentioned, negotiated a marriage contract when I was 12 and Gilbert was 14. 2 years after the marriage contract was signed, we were finally married on April 11, 1774. I was 14, and you were a tall, skinny, red-headed 16-year-old. Our marriage was a splendid affair. Do you remember the day?
I remember it as though it was yesterday.
I was dressed in a beautiful wedding gown of silver tissue, and my father accompanied me to the prie-dieu in the crowded chapel of Hôtel de Noailles. After the nuptial mass was performed, I retired upstairs to rest for a few hours before being redressed in a costume even more beautiful than my wedding dress, and I went down to rejoin our guests. Gilbert and I sat at the head of the table side by side for the feast, which included 46 desserts. And the evening ended with the joyous festivities. As bound by the marriage contract, Gilbert and I remained living at Hôtel de Noailles until we were old enough to manage our own home.
Such poignant memories.
Oui.
Monsieur, danse, s'il vous plaît. Prochain.
with a very busy social calendar. As for me, I quite enjoyed the social events, the balls, the parties, but they brought little joy to Gilbert. He was soon enthralled by the American desire for independence, and he wanted to come to help. So, defying our king and my father, at the age of 19, Gilbert bought and outfitted his own ship and sailed for America to join the American Revolution.
We spent much time apart in those days, ma chère.
Oui.
And yet, in spite of this, we brought 4 children into the world. Our oldest, Henriette, of course. She died when I was in America. But we had 2 more daughters, Anastasie, Marie-Antoinette Virginie, and our son Georges. They were very happy times. Of course, when I returned from America, you and I found ourselves embroiled almost immediately in another revolution. Each of us would be imprisoned separately at first, you in France and me in the dungeons of the Austrian Emperor, in Prussia and in Austria. Imagine how it raised my spirits and touched me deeply when you and our daughters volunteered to imprison yourselves with me in the dungeons of Olmütz. But as it raised my spirits, so too, I fear, shortened your own life.
Well, our lives were nothing if not unusual. But my love for you never wavered.
Not mine for you.
And I live in a box come to those ones who ain't afraid. I remember that time you told me that love is touching souls. Clearly you touched mine, 'cause part of you pours out in me in these lines from time to time.
perhaps I could share some of our fond memories with your kind guests this evening.
Be my guest, Your Excellency.
Oh, there's many stories to tell, but perhaps we start in the very beginning. 1777, I believe it was Philadelphia, July 31st. I was there informing conquerors about military affairs, and they had hosted dinner for me that evening at the city tavern. I had climbed the second-story steps, and the windows were flung open because of the heavy heat of Philadelphia that summer. And ironically, they had bestowed the Marquis the Major General sash that day. It was an honorary thing, but he came to meet me that dinner about 10 p.m., seated directly across from me. We kind of thought how audacious. This 19-year-old French aristocrat bought a ship, sailed to the Americas, little military experience, no combat experience. What could he offer the continental armies? Perhaps just another Frenchman gallivanting around the world looking for adventure, fame, and glory.
Well, for my part, Your Excellency, I remember coming and beholding your countenance for the first time that day, and everyone in the room was distracted by you. It seemed to draw the air from the chamber, even surrounded by members of Congress and the citizenry. Your majesty, your dignity, and, of course, your height. You were unmistakable.
Well, thank you, my Marquis. And that's just it. Through the evening, we talked, and I was thoroughly impressed. My concerns evaporated. When you learned about his dedication, his willingness, and to serve without pay, the continental cause, it was quite impressive. I actually was so impressed, I asked him to join me that evening to review the city defenses. Do you remember me talking to you that evening and pulling you aside and asking you to make the quarters of the Commander-in-Chief and join my family of aides and fellow officers?
Your approval, Your Excellency, was the highest honor I could have ever hoped to achieve. But I must confess that with my limited grasp of English, when you asked me to join your military family, I believed you were stating your intention to adopt me as your son right there in the city tower.
Well, even though it was an honorary commission, the Marquis believed he would actually be in command of actual troops. But first, I made my aide-de-camp and sent him into the action at the Battle of Brandywine. There, we were flanked by the British soldiers, General Howe, so he went to help General Sullivan. Quickly, he dodged bayonet and musket fire, but when shot through the left leg, he dismounted his horse but continued to rally the troops. You were bleeding profusely, my sir.
Yes, I was taken from the field. I had become part of the retreat I was trying so desperately to prevent. I remember being taken first into a tavern where they laid me out upon a table. And when the starving soldiers came in on their retreat, I had to remind them not to eat me. But I also remember, Your Excellency, instructing your personal physician to care for me as though I were your own son.
This is true. And even though we lost that battle, your courage under fire helped stop the British from securing trade routes and supplies and communications to Philadelphia. So, when he did return to service, the Marquis got distinctions at Valley Forge and Monmouth. But as the war dragged on, the troops were demoralized for the harsh winter conditions, lack of food, supplies, resignations, desertions, lack of new recruits. But what did this young Marquis do? He actually donated the equivalent of $200,000 of his own money for supplies, uniforms, for his staff and soldiers. And not only did he do that, he went to his home country, France, where he got a commitment for more ships, soldiers, money, uniforms, and a general Rochambeau. You must have known what this amazing gift and news would spread through the ranks of the troops, the elations, the joy. It's the spirit that we all needed.
Capituler, c'était jamais une option. To surrender was never an option.
Well, now, with its Franco-American alliance, in Virginia, what happened is General Cornwallis was trapped. He could not get reinforcements, so he retreated to Yorktown. But there, we had the armies of Lafayette, Rochambeau, and my own. Therefore, he was surrounded, outnumbered, limited on food and supplies. He surrendered. Therefore, by assuring them the American cause for freedom, it cemented our American future. This young Frenchman before you truly was the angel that we needed in our hour of desperation. He gave up what we needed, that unity throughout the world, to be able to fight our foe. And we are ever indebted, and that's one reason why I truly do thank you as my own son.
For my part, Your Excellency, you have become for me as much a father as I have ever known.
Well, after the war, the Marquis returned back to France. By 1784, you returned to grace me with an emotional 10-day visit to Mount Vernon. After you left, our families continued with correspondence and gifts. And 5 years later, Ajene entrusted me during the French Revolution with your only son, George Washington Lafayette. Our love and life continued, and our relation forevermore. So to you, my dear Marquis, we appreciate everything you have done for us and our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
But I must be off. I know that White Swan Hotel is here somewhere. Some things have changed around here.
In the American Revolution, my service in the fight for liberty was near and dear to my heart, and well worth every suffering and sacrifice that I endured over the course of it. My service here in America propelled me into a lifetime of advocacy for human rights and dignity, regardless of our station. In France, I drafted the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, an enumeration, a codification of the rights common to all men. And what were these rights that I wished to defend so fiercely? Equality under the law, freedom of religion, women's rights, voting rights, freedom of speech and of expression. But it was the abolition of slavery, which perhaps more than anything else animated me at this point in my life, all the way until my death in 1834. In 1783, I began to put my ideas into practice and conceived of a plan by which I would acquire plantations in the French colonies of South America and the colony of Cayenne. There, the slaves would be educated, compensated for their labor, and ultimately freed, in what I hope would serve as an example to the rest of the world that could be emulated anywhere. Unfortunately, this dream was never realized, because during the tumult of the French Revolution, the revolutionary government seized, confiscated, and sold my property, to include my plantations and the slaves that lived upon it. I was devastated.
Well, the Lord is blessing me right now. Oh, right now. I said the Lord is blessing me right now. Oh, right now. He won't need your this morning. Pardon me on my way. The Lord is blessing me.
chair. Ah, merci. Ah, mais voilà. Ah, Tana. But this is wonderful. Please, introduce yourselves to our guests and share your stories.
Shakule, good evening. I was born in 1721 in Kent County, Delaware, to a father of the Oneida Nation and an African-American mother. At my birth, I was given the name Hannah Longpoint by my father, though in time, I came to be known as Hannah Archer. Before the Revolutionary War began, I married Isaac Teal, a slave of Captain John Johnson of Bergen County, New Jersey, and we had 3 healthy children. As the war uprising began, Captain Johnson leased Isaac to be a military enslaved cook and servant of General George Washington at the Valley Forge encampment from 1777 to 1778. I was owned by John Mason, Reverend John Mason, at Associate Reformed Church in New York. He also leased me to General George Washington as General Washington's personal cook. Our family had grown when our 4th child was born at Valley Forge. My husband and I were living and working at the General's headquarters.
It was not only your 4th child, Aunt Hannah. I joined your family as well at Washington's headquarters. Do you remember trying to help me with my English? You were very patient with me as I stumbled over the few words that I brought with me to this foreign country.
I remember oh so well. You were so very young to have joined the cause. You never treated us with anything but respect. And how fortunate we were. Both Isaac and I made an arrangement with the Commander-in-Chief and our respective enslavers, whereby we would work to purchase our freedom. Year 1878. Sorry, 1778. What a joyous day that was when we finally raised enough money to purchase our freedom. Though dedicated to the general, I stayed on as his paid personal cook. So many scenes that we saw. Struggle, conflict, in the March for Freedom. Death, destruction, helplessness. But for 6.5 years, I accompanied General George Washington in all his military campaigns. And I even worked for you, Marquis de Lafayette, for 6 months. I enjoyed being with the both of you. I considered you as my sons. And I even was present with you at the battles of the American Revolutionary War.
And James, you as well, you stood right beside me in our fight for freedom.
Yes, it was an honor to fight beside you then, and it still is an honor to stand beside you today.
Oh, my friend, come here.
May I address the folks?
Of course you may.
I, like many others, have some important stories to share about our friend. So this moment is very emotional and important to me. So I have some notes. I am James Armistead Lafayette. I am a veteran and also a spy of the Revolutionary War. Spectacles? I was born before 1760, enslaved to William Armistead in New Kent County, Virginia. In 1775, Virginia's colonial governor, Lord Dunmore, had issued a proclamation freeing all enslaved persons who chose to fight for the British. But I, my friends, had an affinity for the revolutionaries. During the American Revolution, I received permission to serve as a young spy under the Marquis de Lafayette, who was then in command of the Continental Army of Virginia. And fortunately, I had first-hand experience of the back roads, so I could blend in as a runaway slave who was spying on the Americans. In 1781, Washington had sent a message to Lafayette instructing him to fortify forces and then to send back any available information on Cornwallis's camp. So, Lafayette sent me. And I infiltrated Cornwallis's camp and was able to secure vital information about his plans on the British Army. And I smuggled papers out of Cornwallis's headquarters to share with Lafayette. But had I been caught, I surely would have been executed.
There were many times, my friend, when I feared that you had been, but it was your reports. Your reports were instrumental in our forces being able to trap Lord Cornwallis at Hampton and to win the Battle of Yorktown.
And after the war, I had hoped to gain my freedom through the Act of 1782 that emancipated all individuals who fought in the war. But I was returned back to William Armistead because I was considered a slave spy and not a slave soldier. So I continued in slavery. I wrote a petition to Virginia for my emancipation because of my service, but I was flatly denied. During our esteemed guest's farewell tour to America, you were scheduled to visit Virginia. This was in 1824. And I was determined to join the crowds welcoming you. The city of Richmond. I was honored when I saw that the streets were lined and you spotted me in the crowd.
I was touched to reunite with you, my friend. I recognized you instantly. The last time I had been to Virginia, in 1784, I was tragically disappointed to hear that you had not been granted your freedom. And I wrote a testimonial on your behalf to the Assembly of Virginia, urging them to honor your service.
It was that letter, that particular letter, a copy of which I still hold, that convinced the Virginia General Assembly to acknowledge my emancipation from bondage of slavery in 1787. Give this man a hand. So it was that year that I made the decision to take Lafayette as my surname. And that's when I officially became James Amistad Lafayette. So, because of that proud moment, I was able to gain my freedom. I was able to move further south of Kent County. I was able to buy a farm and become a farmer and cultivate my own food. Then I raised my family, and after my petition was received, at age 70, I received my first pension check of $40. Thank you.
James. My dear James, my dear Aunt Hannah, I cannot tell you how much it means to see you once again here in Lancaster, of all places, this evening. I thank you for sharing your stories with our guests to ensure that you shall be unsung heroes no more.
Lord, I keep so busy praising my Jesus.
Praising my Jesus. Keep so busy praising my Jesus.
God. Well, when I'm a healing DC, when I'm a healing DC, when I'm a healing DC.
When the American Revolution ended, I returned to my home country of France. My service here in this country, my service in the cause of liberty, began to encourage me to think of ways that we could make social and governmental reforms in France and changes to the monarchy. When I wrote the Déclaration des droits de l'homme et du citoyen, the Declaration of the Rights of Man with Thomas Jefferson, this became the preamble to France's first constitution. My goal for France was always a constitutional monarchy, a hereditary executive, yes, but constrained and surrounded by strong republican institutions, an elected legislature, an independent judiciary, and a written constitution. But France in this time, its finances were in shambles. The people labored under the heavy burdens of taxation. And when famines and crop failures began to occur in the countryside, discontentment began to ripple through the population. And the French Revolution began as a slow rumble, but accelerated into a thundering crescendo.
Ich bin hier! I'm here! Wunderbar!
Mais c'est pas Sa Majesté la Reine, Marie-Antoinette!
Aïe, Marquis! Oui, c'est moi! Darling, I would have brought you a cake. Was there none to be had on my journey here? It is lovely to see you, Marquis. Mwah! Mwah!
Yes, Your Majesty.
You have changed but little, Marquis. When the king and I accepted young nobles into our court, you and your wife Adrienne were among them. But it was abundantly clear from the beginnings that you were shy and socially awkward. He was never quite comfortable at court. And at my husband's coronation ball, I remember laughing at his woefully poor dancing skills. The evening was quite a spectacle for the French court.
In my defense, Your Majesty, I aspired only to be a soldier. I did not aspire to the life of a courtier. You, on the other hand, seemed much the opposite. You loved all the trappings of palace life, a social butterfly who loved the parties, the dancing, the balls, and of course, only the most extravagant of fashions.
Which cost only a little more than 2 million francs. That is nothing. I was perplexed as to why the French people hated me so. but they did not hate you. No, although my husband forbade you from going to America for the uprising, you proved yourself a hero worthy of praise. Our court provided him with a hero's welcome at the Palace of Versailles in 1782 upon his return from America. But when he wrote the Declaration of the Rights of Man and the Citizen, the king and I felt truly threatened, and we feared that he wished to abolish the monarchy.
It was of course not true, Your Majesty. I walked a razor's edge. As Commandant of the Paris National Guard, I was tasked with maintaining order in the streets of Paris, as well as maintaining the security of yourself, His Majesty the King, and your family. My allegiances were constantly questioned. The royalists thought me a radical. The radicals thought me a royalist.
Well, sir, I am here tonight to thank you for saving my life. Do you remember? The date was October 5th, 1789, when hungry, angry Parisians braved the rain to march on Versailles. They wanted to attack us. Oh, forgive me, I play that scene over and over again in my head. Oh my God. Consisting of mostly women, the crowd demanded to see me and the king. And Lafayette's guards seemed powerless to do anything to stop them because many of them were sympathetic to the citizens. And by midnight, thousands had arrived at the Palace of Versailles, and they were all shouting, "Vive Lafayette!" Your guards, you, our bodyguards, allowed you to come in to speak with the king. But by 3 in the morning, some of the mob had breached the palace. They had entered, and I had to fear for my life. I almost was killed. I had to flee to a hidden door, and I almost died. But you were there for me. And this man here, he convinced me to come out on the balcony to greet the crowd, which I did. But mayhem ensued. It was you, with your one simple gesture, that quieted the crowd that wanted to kill me. And we returned to Paris with you, but as your prisoners. I shall forever be grateful. Our fates were sealed with the revolution, and although we were both imprisoned, you fared far better than I. My husband and I, we were guillotined, like your wife's sister and mother and grandmother.
Yes, and for our part, after years of imprisonment, in France for my wife and in Austria for myself, we were indeed allowed to be released and eventually returned to France.
But all of that is behind us now, my dear Marquis. I think that we should enjoy this reunion, Gilbert. If only I had found you a cake. Bonsoir, dear sir. I must be off. Mwah. Mwah.
My release from prison in the dungeons of Wolpert, I received a letter, a most unexpected and welcome letter from my friend James Monroe, who was President of the United States at the time. Monsieur Monroe wrote to me on behalf of the Congress to invite me to return to the United States, where the people there had, I believe he said, an ardent desire to see me once again among them. I was honored and longed to return to America again, especially at the invitation of a man alongside whom I had fought at the Battle of Brandywine. Quel voyage incroyable. It was an incredible voyage. When I set sail from France with my son, George Washington Lafayette, my valet Bastien, my secretary, Auguste Levasseur, to keep a detailed journal of our voyage. And I am very pleased that he did, because what was supposed to be a 3-month voyage to America, simply to visit a few cities, was transformed as a result of all of the invitations I received into a journey of some 6,000 miles through all 24 states in the Union, lasting over a year. Eh oui. Yes, even in this tour, I did visit Western Chester County and Lancaster County as well. I was met at Filson's Tavern in Chester County by the delegation from Lancaster County, the general and the yeoman. I cannot recall their names, but one of them was Slaymaker.
Did someone say the name Slaymaker? Who speaks my name?
Monsieur?
Ah, I beg your pardon. Am I mistaken, or am I in the presence of the Marquis de Lafayette?
I am General Lafayette, monsieur.
Well,
I renounced the title of Marquis many years ago.
Oh, I see. Well, General, it's a great honor to meet you once again, sir. For I have met you once before. I don't suppose you by chance recall who I am?
I have met so many people on this farewell tour, monsieur, and I am sure that I will remember you if only, pray tell, you would remind me.
Well, it's completely understandable. It's been many years ago. Well, my name, like that of my grandfather before me, is Amos Slaymaker, and I'm a lawyer here in Lancaster. And I met you back in the summer of 1825 during what became known as your farewell tour of the United States. Cities and towns across America that were expecting your arrival were enthralled with planning parades and balls and illuminations and celebrations of all sorts to honor you on your arrival. And Lancaster and Lancaster County was no exception, was also caught up in the excitement. You first arrived here from Chester County the end of July in 1825. And one of the first stops you made here was in the little village of Salisburyville, where my grandfather, also named Amos Slaymaker, lived in our family homestead called White Chimneys. Next door to White Chimneys was a tavern called the Sign of John Adams that was also owned and operated by the family. Well, you and your rather large entourage stopped at the tavern at White Chimneys where you were served refreshments on the lawn. I can remember it still, I can see it now. Oh, the whole family, myself included, were dressed in our very finest clothes, waiting for your arrival. I remember my grandfather, Amos Slaymaker, who was quite an elderly man at that point. I can see him now hobbling down the front walk, making his way to the front gate, and as your carriage pulled up, swinging open the gate and extending his hand to you, welcoming the nation's guest as his own personal guest. It was perhaps the greatest honor of his life. It was also a particularly special moment for him because, like you, he served at the Battle of Brandywine. He served in a militia unit as an ensign under his uncle. Well, during the course of your visit, you very kindly presented Amos Slaymaker with a walking stick with a likeness of your head carved on the end of it. And it's been passed down in the family as an heirloom ever since then, and I'm pleased to be able to show it to you today.
I am pleased to know that this walking stick still exists after so many years. We are not looking so bad for our age.
Not at all, sir. Thank you. From White Chimneys in Salisburyville, you and your procession moved west towards the city of Lancaster. Right before you arrived in town, you stopped at a place right outside of town that was known as Groves Field. There you were greeted by a huge crowd of over 10,000 people. There were military bands, music being played, people from all walks of life, but they were all united in their desire to welcome you, and to welcome you particularly to the city of Lancaster. From Groves Field, your procession of carriages moved into Lancaster City itself, where you're greeted by hundreds more who lined the streets of the town. There were arches, triumphal arches, that were built in your honor, and your carriages drove under those. Eventually, you arrived at the Pennsylvania Arms Hotel on East King Street. My family was involved in running the hotel. Sometimes it was called the Slaymaker Hotel, actually. At the hotel, you met with members of the Welcome Committee, had dinner with them, and with some prominent politicians. But you'd had a long and arduous day beginning in Chester County, so then you retired early for the evening. The next morning, however, you were up and about in the city of Lancaster early. You visited old friends here. You went to a christening where the baby was baptized in your honor. You then visited the Lancasterian School. I was a student at the school at the time and later served on the board of trustees there. I can still remember the excitement of the students as you arrived. There was one young lad. I think he was no more than 10 years old, or not much more. And he, on his own, had composed an address of welcome to you. And he stood before you, and he presented the address.
General, we are happy to welcome you within the walls of our school. We hope that you will always recommend learning and that you will always cherish such valuable institutions as this. Remember that these schools are of great importance to a free people and that education is the best security for virtue, liberty, and independence. We thank you for your kindness in coming from your native country, France, to help us in getting the liberty we now enjoy. We wish you honor and prosperity as long as you live in this world. And in the world to come, eternal happiness. And if it is your intention to return to France, we wish you a safe and pleasant voyage.
Well, Well, at the end of the young lad's speech, there was great emotion at the school, and I dare say there was barely a dry eye in the house.
I do not doubt this, monsieur, but when exactly in all of this did you and I meet?
Yes. Well, we were formally introduced, if it's not too inappropriate a word to call it, formally, at the Pennsylvania Arms Hotel, because I was just 7.5 years old at the time. And my father, Jasper Slaymaker, was a member of the committee that welcomed you to town. He took me with him to the hotel where you were meeting with members of the committee and other citizens who'd come there to pay you their respects. You were very kind to me. You reached your hand to me and allowed me to sit on your lap as you conversed with my father and with his friends. The lines of your face, the sounds of your voice, they're still indelibly etched in the tablets of my memory, as is the music, the haunting music of those wonderful 3 days that you spent here in Lancaster.
It was wonderful to see you.
To see you too, and I cannot speak for everyone that you've met throughout the course of your life, but as for me, I can assure you, you've had an indelible and lasting effect upon me, and upon my life, and upon the life of our entire nation. And I would like to thank you for founding us.
I thank you, my friend. You honor me.
Farewell, gentlemen.
Farewell. Throughout my life, I have been called by some a visionary. I do not know what this means. It is true that I have often imagined a better world, a more equal world where all of us share in our humanity. But I never could have imagined a day quite like this one. Everything, I feel, has changed so much in the last 200 years. There are different buildings, there are different roads, there are different clothes, there are very different sounds, there are very different lights. Where are the candles concealed that light this stage so brightly in a dim room?
Oh, just one moment.
Oh, it's for you. Qu'est-ce que c'est que ce truc, hein? Bonjour! What is this thing?
Oh, that, dear Marquis, is called a phone.
Ah, and what, pray tell, is a phone?
A phone is a device that people use to communicate over vast distances. And you have to remember, it's been 200 years since you've been here last. And although a lot of things have changed since then, it still takes all of us to build a beautiful world.
Carry the weight much better than I do, day after day, just waiting on good news. All of our needs, our hopes and our dreams are waiting on an open door. I see a spark of light in the dark, wiser than before. We got love like we've never been hurt. We got rise like we've never been burned. After all the lessons we've learned, we're gonna make this a beautiful world, beautiful world. Make this a beautiful world. Carry the weight. No mountain is too high. It's never too late. There's always a sunrise. All our needs, our hopes and our dreams are waiting on an open door. I see a spark of light in the dark. We'll be stronger than before. We got low like we've never been hurt.
And now, before you go, dear General, Lancaster actually has one last surprise for you.